I'll probably come on to the live demonstration part now, which I think is the part that most of us are probably looking for, because it was quite overwhelming in terms of trying to use Teams. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to share my screen with yourselves. And I'm actually going to do this as a live demo. So basically looking at hints and tips on how to use Teams, but also looking at how you can get the best out from your class. Now please remember, this is how we use it, or how I use it. It doesn't generally mean that it's the best for yourself, but what it might do is it might be able to give you some different ideas on how Teams works. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, as you can see, this is live for me, so I just want everybody to be aware of that. So obviously, if under the GDPR, I need to make sure that I am clicking on the correct classes and things like that. So, okay, so the first thing is, this is our Teams view. Now, this is every single one of my classes, and as you can see, there's quite a lot there. And at this moment in time, they are all pre-populated for me. They are pre-populated, they are there, so I do not need to add pupils in. What a great function is, because we use this company called Salamander. If a pupil moves classes because of a timetable change, that happens automatically within my class too. So as a teacher, you do not need to do anything. Everything is set up automatically. You log into Teams and straight away all of that is already set up as it should look. Now, the first thing I just want to introduce you to is something on Teams a lot of people aren't aware of, is obviously up here at the top we have this search bar. Now, I'm very, very used to using shortcuts on Teams. So if you use the / and you type in keys, okay, you will actually see a list of the shortcuts that Teams can offer for you. Now, I'm so used to using Control and C to copy, Control and V to paste. And obviously within time, okay, you will be able to use these different bits and pieces that all of these different shortcuts you will be able to access as well, and maybe over time you'll be able to get a bit more quicker and more fluent with that. Okay, the next thing is obviously one thing. Some of you might be looking at this and thinking, well, actually my Teams looks nothing like this. Okay, so the first thing is how to actually once you're on Teams, there's two different types of views. So up here, I'll show you the other view which you might be used to. So if I switch the views, okay, your team view might be switched to this list view, which this probably might look a little bit more like yourself view, okay, with all of your teams here. Now, that's something that you might be more comfortable with. Myself, I'm very comfortable with looking at the tile view, so I'm just going to come back onto down here at the bottom. I'm just going to switch my view, and just because basically it's a bit easier for me to manage myself, and I can see those classes there, and I think that's quite a nice simple thing to be able to do. Okay, so now, more importantly, how do we start using it in the correct way? Okay, so I'm going to go right down to the bottom. And what I have here is I have a webinar. So I'm just going to click onto this team. Now, this is a team that we're using just for the webinars. So I just basically it's blank apart from one thing that I've currently set up, which is just to show you how this can be used. So the first thing that you'll notice is when you click onto a team, all icons are basically very boring, and when you click on it as a pupil, you'll just see a lot of icons, and for a pupil it can be quite overwhelming. So they use that dual coding approach where you can actually select on the image or select on your icon, and you can select a more appropriate image for that class, and then when you press update, that image will not just appear for you, but it will appear for your class as well. So if you're a music class, obviously a more appropriate image might be able for them to be able to find your class more effectively. And as you can see when you're looking through here, I haven't done it for everyone, okay, but as you can see, it allows for a little bit easier to find. Okay, now the next thing is when you first create a team, okay, you will basically be given a general channel. Okay, now a team is obviously a group of people that you want to be able to connect, but within that group of people you might be able to, or you might want to separate how these different people communicate. For example, within a computer science team, I have Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4, I have a well-being channel, and these different channels are basically like your subfolders where conversations go within this subfolder or within this channel. So just to show you how to quickly set these up, okay, we simply click the more options. Whenever you're unsure on Teams, clicking these three little dots is brilliant, because we can click on these three little dots and it gives us so much more. And I can just simply add a channel. And then all I might want to do, okay, as this is a webinar, I might simply say that this is going to be where I post all of my Key Stage 4 work. I know different subjects obviously set it up as different units of work or different channels, but it really depends on how you choose to do that yourself. So I'm simply just going to press Key Stage 4, and then you can add, and that is as simple as it is. The other thing that you can do is you can change it from a standard into a private channel. Now what that private channel does is you can decide who sees that channel. So for example, in certain circumstances, you might want a team where you have pupils and staff collaborating together. So I have a staff only channel where staff communicate, where pupils are not able to see that. So just to show you how they look very quickly, so I'll do Key Stage 3, I will add, and all that will happen is that channel will go straight in. When I add a private channel, okay, I simply add the channel and I'll just call this Key Stage 3, and I'll just private channel, and then it will simply go on to access rights. Who would you like to be in there? Okay, so once again, I can give them student rights or I can give them teacher rights. That is obviously depending on who yourself. So in this case, I will just go to Louise, and I'll add Louise, and then what will happen is you'll see that this is locked, and that means even though it's locked, it will not show for the people who have not been invited. It will only show with that lock sign for people who are. Okay, so the next one is composing messages. So obviously one of the things that we do is we need to communicate to our pupils on how to set them work. So how do we actually set our pupils work? So this is actually an example from one of my pieces of work that I've set. So this is week 2, microbit game, and it basically gives all of their information that they need there with the links that they need. Okay, now what I'm going to do is this creates a little bit of an issue when we do it like this. Okay, so this is why I wanted to explain it to yourselves. Okay, whenever you insert documents here, what it will do is up here in the files at the very top, it will give you a class materials, but then it will give you the document that you've actually also inserted here. Now the problem is if you insert a document that isn't inside this class materials, it becomes an editable document for everybody currently on it. So that means that everybody in your class can currently edit that document. So if you could imagine 30 students around one piece of paper trying to edit it, so you need to make sure that when you're inserting documents onto the posts channel, that we're doing it within the right way. Otherwise you will get one student who's really keen, gets on at 9 o'clock and completes the worksheet for everybody within that class, which can cause a little bit of a problem. So the way that we would do it, okay, so I'm going to show you 2 ways on this is done. So at the very bottom, let me just leave this up here, the very bottom, we have a compose button here. Now most of us will probably be so used to writing, and then we press enter, and what it does is all we were doing was trying to give it a line break, but instead of that line break I simply posted the word hello. Instead of that, we simply press the format tool, and what it does is it gives us so many different options. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I would set a piece of work. Okay, so the first thing I would do is I would decide on whether or not I wanted this to be an important message. So you have tons and tons of different formatting tools up here. So obviously important message, okay, you might want to add links, you might want to quote. This is your standard box when it comes to sort of web development or inserting anything online, so you should be quite familiar with that. Okay, but the things that you'd need to think of is if I want to notify the whole of my class, I would simply do @ and I would write team. And what that does is that will actually allow me to send a direct message, which will give a notification like this in the top left hand corner of how that appears. So I can do RHS, WebDAR, and that will give every single one of those pupils a piece of work, or it will notify them that work has been set. And then I would simply say, the way that I would set work is I would give them the message and simply say, you can access your work by clicking on assignments. Okay, and that's the way that I would actually do it. Okay, but whatever you post in here, as long as we're using this @ symbol, okay, will actually be viewed by everybody within that team, and it will give them that notification that pops up just like a message, and they will know that that is there for them, as it will be in their notifications. Okay, and you simply here put any information in there that you want. Now, just a couple of things, because they are quite important, is how to make it look more apparent, or how to make it look nice, and also how to make it benefit for the teacher. So up here at the top, okay, we have, as you can currently see, this is a new conversation. Now what I would do is I would turn it to an announcement, and by turning it to an announcement you get a nice big title, and I would simply set week 1, and then I would give the title of the task. And then within that you have, okay, different illustration tools over here. So I can press this illustration, I can add my own image as I've done above. I'll just show you that, or you can simply choose an illustration and I can select these vast amounts, okay, of different images that are there, or you might have one that you would like yourself. And all that does is it brings the attention to that message, so the pupils can't say, oh, I couldn't find that message. Okay, that simply says week 1, title of the task, and it hits them there straight away with that notification, and it will send them directly to that message as well. And that's the announcement tool. But one thing that I think a lot of people forget about is you can write one message and you can send it to all of your different channels. So if I'm here and posting multiple channels, I can select this, and you'll see it says 2. I can select channels, and then what I can do here is, as you can see, as this is my live tenancy, you can see that I've got all of my classes there. Now, how does this benefit me? How do I use it? Well, what I would do is I would set my year 7 work on a Monday. So on a Monday, I'm quite fortunate. I have a year 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So what I do is on a Monday, I set the work for that class with the notification. Okay, as you can see, so I'll just send this now. Okay, so it would look like that, and I would set that work. Tuesday comes, I teach year 7 again. I simply press the 3 little dots, I edit the message, okay, and up here in post and multiple channels, I now add my next class, which means I don't have to rewrite that post. I write 4 posts a week and I send it to all of my classes at the start of their day, so they are able to get that notification. And that is an extremely valuable tool. Saves the teacher time, and it also makes sure that you are consistent across the work that you're setting as well, so there's no variance in those messages as well. So that's a very nice handy tool to be able to use. Now the only thing I would say about that, and this is why I'm not too keen on this type of message, is the fact that whenever you have an attachment, you are not allowed to send it to multiple channels. Okay, if you are using an announcement, or if you are using a conversation, unfortunately you cannot send that document across multiple channels. So my type of work is basically looking like this, where it gives them week 1, title of the task, and it basically says you can access your work by clicking on the assignments tab, and then I will show you that in the next kind of steps that we have a little look at. Okay, so that's basically the basics with looking at composing a message. The next one is probably looking at the different messaging options. one of the things that I find that a lot of people tend to do is they forget about in Outlook, people use the flag system quite a lot, and what that will do is that will flag their email, and it tells them that it's important. People don't realize you can do that in Teams, okay? And the way that we do it within Teams is any message that you find important, we simply press the three little dots on that message, and you can save this message. Now, by saving that message, what it does is it brings it up here under your initials. And when you click your initials, okay, you will be able to see that you have saved messages. Now, I won't click on there as I have obviously all of my current school and pupils saved messages on there. But what that will do is that will take you to an independent area where all of your saved messages are. Now, the really good thing about this is when you click back on that message, it puts you into the thread, into the exact position, so you can get a whole view of the conversation that is currently or has been going on. So even if you're not allowed or able to pick it up at the moment, because obviously when you're reading emails, you just get the threads at the bottom, and it can be receiving 250 emails a day, and absolutely nothing of them is about you, but you're still receiving them in your inbox. And by going to that save section there, you're just able to filter out the stuff that you want, and it takes you back into the conversation, and you don't get any notifications, because why get the notifications if it's nothing to do with you? So that's an extremely important part there that we're talking about when it comes to kind of those saving of messages, which is just there. Okay, so that's quite an important thing. Just two other little bits. I do obviously at the moment, I can't see any messages or anything going on, so I do know this might be a bit of a whirlwind at the moment. We are recording the session, so I will be able to send it out to everybody to be able to go over that. But please, if you do want to ask any questions, please write them in the questions tab in the chat, and I'll be able to answer them at the end of the session. Two other things that...
Could I just interrupt you there, if you don't mind?
Yes, of course.
Sorry, I don't know how many others are in this boat. I can't actually use the chat feature because it says the team owner hasn't made me a member.
Okay, so what that would mean, if a team owner hasn't made you a member, okay, it will be to do with the rights. So with every single team, okay, and I'll show you a member of this here. So if we look at every single team and I go onto this managed team, it will have something to do with these settings here. Okay, so at this moment in time, you can see that the three, me, Paul and Louise, are all owners. Okay, now, sorry, are you not able to chat at the moment in the conversation? Is that what you meant? Sorry.
Yes, sorry, just the point where you said I can't see any messages coming through. I do have some questions, but I can't post them. Okay,
fantastic. Okay. Bear with me. I'm thinking this is our first live event that we've done in this way. So what I would ask is if you're not able to post any messages, we'll open up the microphones at the end, and I will certainly answer any questions that I possibly can. So obviously this is a learning curve for us as well. So once I will open it up at the end, and then please ask the questions if you're able to. I wasn't aware that you were not able to answer any questions. I do apologise for that on that chat, so we will sort that out. I think it's due to the fact that everybody's being used sending external emails. So I'll open up the chat at the end, and everybody will be able to ask the questions. Okay, so two more things. First of all is message extensions that we have at the bottom. Something which is really nice and really simple to use is this praise. So we can press praise, and it pops up and it says, who do you want to say praise to? I might simply say thank you, and I might say, okay, I want to send it to Showcase 01, and I can add the message, well done, and I can simply press preview, and I can send. Now that is obviously giving pupils praise. It would look a little something like this, but it would allow pupils to give a little bit more praise on their it's given them a little bit more visual recognition. So if pupils have helped or supported each other, they're able to do that, because obviously when I send this message or this type of work that I've set, pupils comment on it, they ask me about it, they ask me questions about it, I give them feedback on it. But more than anything, I encourage pupils to feedback on the responses themselves. So as we can just see, Louise is very kindly, thank you, Mr. Small, I've worked really hard on that assignment. I can obviously respond and I can say praise. There's the show, I've given them the praise, and I can say well done. And that's giving that student or that pupil a notification. I can also, one thing I do, if a pupil gives really good feedback, I simply give them a like, and what that does is that allows them, or because of how we've taught it, they know that I've given them a house point on our system, just because they provided constructive feedback. Okay, next one is message extensions. So at the bottom here, we've got all sorts. Okay, as you can see, I've got search criteria, news. You can get YouTube. Okay, you've got loads of different apps there. So if you as a teacher use something quite often, if you click on those message extensions there and simply search for the apps, there is absolutely loads in there which you might be able to find, and it just means that things are there so much quicker, so much easier for you to use. I know there are people who use Quizlet, Trello. There's an awful lot of things. I don't know half of them in there, but there is so much different bits of information that teachers can use and have at their disposal. That is certainly something that you should look at. Okay, and the next one, which I think this one's quite handy for, and I didn't actually realise this, I'm quite comfortable in using Teams, but right up in the top left hand corner there are navigation arrows, and it sounds silly, I've used it for 3 years and I've never known that they were there, but what they allow us to do is they allow me to just go back, so I can look at basically just like a web browser where you can go forward and back and you can get back to the page, because what can happen sometimes is you can click on your chat and you will lose the position that you are in within Teams. So by just using these navigation arrows, I can get quickly back to where I was, or I can go forward again, and that will give me some information there. And that's just a very nice, simple little way to be able to navigate, okay, especially when you're using your activity feed, because on that activity feed, you'll get all messages, you'll get responses, and obviously sometimes you can lose where you're actually working or where you write that message. Simply use those navigation buttons and you'll easily find where you want to be. Okay, so I can simply go forward and back, and that's a really nice little simple tool to use there. And another one, which one thing that I really, at the moment I struggle to use emails, and the reason why I struggle to use emails is because I get around about 50 emails a day, and probably 2 or 3 of them which are from me. So the problem is that emails generally now are seen as less important by teachers, and the problem with that is sometimes we need to get important messages across. Okay, so I really prefer to use this type of platform because it notifies me when there's something for me, and then we can post things in channels anyway that don't have an @ symbol, which will just post it as normal and there will be no notification. But one of the things I do realize is that email is not going to go away, and it's something that we will still need to use. So what we might realize every now and again is that we have an important message that we want to send to an external person. So I can simply press the 3 little dots and every message can be sent automatically, okay, out as a email. So I can simply click on the 3 little dots, I can press send to Outlook, and what that will do is that will be able to send this message as an email. Okay, as you can see, like that, I can simply add on who I'd like that to go to, and that will send that message as an email to everybody that I want to actually have that access to. The only thing I would say there is you need to make sure that, okay, if there are any comments on that post that you've put on, so for example, if I use the one down here, which is here, if I want to send this one, okay, this will actually have the comments as well. So you need to make sure that if you ever do want to send a message as an email, okay, so you might have something that's been said on a Teams channel and you want to send it to parents, or you want to send it to a group or a channel or external, or whatever reason you might do, you just need to be aware that the message that you send will also contain the comments that members of staff have actually, or pupils have also placed on there. So that's something just to be wary of. And obviously we can do it the other way around. Sometimes we'll receive an email from a parent that we want to be within a team, Okay, so for example, our staff team, we've had a nice email from parents. We want all staff to send it, all staff to be able to view it. Instead of sending it as an email, we can send it as an email to a Teams channel. So every Teams channel, okay, if you click the three little dots on the channel that you want that to appear, every Teams channel has its own email address. So get the email link, and all we do is simply click it, and what happens is it pops up as an email address, okay, which is just there. We just copy that and we simply paste that into our Outlook, and all that will happen is the email will appear in the thread as a message, just like you can see there on front of you. So it's a nice, easy, nice, simple way to be able to me, we shouldn't be using two platforms to communicate. Why use email? Why use Teams? We should use in one platform and using that consistently. But we are going to be getting those external emails. Okay, so when we get those external emails, let's get them into Teams and let's keep people all in that one place in that digital hub. And that's allowing for that email connectivity as well, which is just there. Okay, just two other things that we need to look at. Okay, within messaging, within a channel, it's the tabs up here at the top. Okay, so up here we've got different tabs. So we've got our posts, we've got our files. Now, when I was relating to this message, this post here, where I first posted a message, okay, and if you set some work like this, okay, what happens is if you attach a file, okay, and if you attach a file like that, it will automatically put it in the root of this files folder for the general tab. Okay, so that means everybody can change or adapt that. If you want it where nobody can adapt it, simply advice would be to put it within this class material. So I can simply just move, okay, this to the correct folder where I'd like it to, which is in class materials. You'll see that it's got the lock-in, and that means that pupils or staff can't change or attach the file that you actually want. Okay. Once again, I do realise we are going quite quickly. I just want to get through as much as we can, and then I can open it up for any questions. And then we also have a tab up here, which is very handy. So if we click up here on this plus sign, we will probably see an awful lot of different apps that people are probably familiar with. Once again, I do not know them all. Okay, so I know Discovery Education is some things that people sign up to. We've got Wakelet, we've got Stack Overflow, which is something I use within computer science. There's so much in here that I actually am not aware of what everything does, but if you just hover over it, okay, probably not the best example then, but if you just hover over it, it will give you information about what it is, and then if you click on it, it'll give you a little bit more detail, and if that's something that you want, you can simply add that. And what happens is it will add it as a different view up here. So as an example, I might go add. I might say, okay, I would like a website, okay, and as a school we use a website called Doddle. I would just type in the URL here. I would just type in the name that I want to appear, and then I would just type in the URL or the web address here, okay, and it's not a valid one at the moment, so I would need to copy and paste it. I've not got that there at the moment. So just your web address there, you simply press save, and that will appear up here as a short click link. So people can just click it and they will basically automatically be able to access that website very, very quickly. And that's just something which can save pupils time. It's about keeping them in one place. Although it's not the same website, as long as it appears to be the same, okay, it makes pupils feel an awful lot better and more comfortable with using it. So while I've been talking, I've just actually got a website. So if I just click on website, I just type in BBC and I paste in my link and I press save. Okay, what will happen is it will pop up here. So as you can see now at the moment, okay, I'm here on my channel. It's informed pupils. I've inserted a new tab. And then if they click here on BBC, it appears within the window for pupils, so they're able to use it as a normal website. Now, once again, as a pupil, they think they're in one place. Okay, if we want to get to a different website, or we actually want to go to that website, we can locate it with all of these different options we have up here. Okay, and that's just something which is really, really useful. Now, one of the best things that I would say at the moment that I found on this tab is this one, okay, which is Insight. Now, Insight, just to give you an idea, okay, I've already installed it, okay, so you press it and it appears like this. So what Insight does is this. Because obviously one of the big questions is, how do you know which pupils are engaging within your content? Well, hopefully by me pressing Insight, for anybody currently looking at my screen, it should be extremely easy to be able to spot which pupils have actually accessed this. 4 out of 5 are not active. Okay, so we've got Showcase 2's not been on, Showcase 3's not been on, 4's not been on, 5 hasn't, 1 has, and if I hover over it, it tells me what they've done and what they've been on. Okay, so when we set pupils' work within school, we have to obviously say whether or not they've been engaging within our content. This is an extremely quick way, one way with a variety of different tools that we have that we can use to be able to see whether a pupil is actually accessing our content. Because if they, for example, if we've given them a week to do the work and they haven't accessed it, we simply know that they haven't engaged with that content. So that one at 4 Insights is an extremely great tab, but it will also give you average grades. Okay, once again, I will show you that when we look at the assignments part, and whether they've actually accessed them on time. Now, this has only recently just been released, so it's going to be developed quite quickly over the next couple of weeks. So please, if you are using Teams, have a little look at Insights. It's something that will save you an awful lot of time to see which pupils are accessing your resources and messages and actually using the channel. And that just means that as a teacher, for pastoral care, safeguarding care, I might know that looking at Showcase 2, he's a vulnerable pupil, or they've currently got issues at home. I might now be more inclined to pick up the phone and to actually have a conversation with that student or the parent over there to speak to them to see if everything's okay. And that's a way to be able to inform you as a teacher about that resource there. So that's really, really nice to have a little look at. Okay, so that's the basics that I've looked at this moment in time. I am just going to go on to a little bit more complicated at the moment now, which is the assignments. So one thing that you've got to remember is obviously setting work in this way means that pupils will get the work, okay, but then how do we know when they've done the work in terms of, apart from our insights, we can see that they've accessed it, but how do we mark it? How do we give them feedback? We can obviously give them feedback within the channel, but sometimes there might be that instance where that feedback is private. They don't want everybody to know, the teacher understands that. And that's where assignments is absolutely a fantastic tool. So just to show you how this assignments works. So if I click assignments, okay, what will happen is it will simply give me a page that looks like this, okay, and all I might want to say is, okay, what do you want to do? So I would like to create a new assignment, okay, and I'm going to press the assignment button. And most of us will probably use things like this, like Show My Homework or class charts or any type of homework distribution system that you currently use. But once again, I would say, why are we using multiple pieces of software when one piece of software can do it? Like at Ribblesdale, we use this for everything. We don't have Moodle, we don't have Show My Homework. Everything just uses one piece of software, and that just makes sure that we've got a consistent approach. But staff don't feel overwhelmed by continually having to retrain them to use continually different pieces of software. So all we would do here is title, okay, and you would give the students the instructions. So for example, I would simply give the instructions that pupils needed here. Okay, and then we can simply add some resources if we would like to there, so any attachments that you might want. Okay, now the difference between this is when I attach a resource here, that is specifically for that student, so they can make an edit to that document, they can do whatever they want to that document, and it doesn't affect it for any other students. Okay, but one of the really good things is this Rubik's. Okay, so I can simply add a Rubik's. Now a Rubik's Is it Rubik's or Rubik? Okay, so I've set one up as an example. So if I want to add one, I can simply click it. I can simply say next, and this is just an example of one that we've got for technology. So within technology they have coursework, so development of design process, okay, and for example I want to grade them excellent, good, fair, point. I can choose on the different point systems, and I can decide to use this rubrics if I want to. Now all that does is makes my job for feedback a lot easier, because when I'm marking that student's work I just click the one that they've met and it feeds back to the student straight away, and I'll show you how that works in a little bit. And all I can do is attach, and what that'll do, okay, and then it's just a similar sort of thing, so we can sort of give our date due, okay, when we expect to have that. The only other thing I would say is the advantage of using assignments is I can specifically give it to certain students within the class. So if I set an assignment, at the moment I know that I've got mixed ability classes where some students will struggle to complete the work that I'm setting, so I can I can give them that work without anybody else knowing, and that's just quite nice, and for me to give them that assignment, so I can just select which students I want to have, and then when you come off it just says 3 students, and I simply attach. And what that will do, so I will simply just show you how that works. It takes a little moment, but once it's done, it basically take a little moment, but what it will do is it will post here in the chat for students, and it will also give them a notification. So now when you see this sort of week 1 title, you can access your work by clicking on the assignments tab. Pupils are aware that they've got that. Okay, another thing which is super important with these assignments is why create one when I've already done it. Okay, so I can simply reuse my assignments time and time again. So if I click create, I know, for example, I've got a from existing assignment. I'll go to one of my actual classes. Okay, so let's say, for example, I go to my Year 7U class. I click next. I can see all the assignments that I've currently set for them. And now I might say, okay, I want this week 1 Lightbot, and I'm going to press next. And it gives me exactly the same information. I don't have to write the instructions. I don't have to add an attachment. Everything's all there, all the students, everything else. It tells me where do I want to assign it. So I want to assign it in the RHS webinars. It takes a little moment, okay, because it's just got to prepare your worksheet. But once that's happened, we can simply press assign, and that will do everything else. It will send that document to everybody. I'll just give that a moment, and if Louise is listening, if Louise could just, while I speak about the next section, if Louise could just complete 1 or 2 bits of that worksheet under the students tab, I'll be able to demonstrate to you how it looks. Okay, so you'll be able to see the advantage of doing that. So just if I go back to that team, oh, sorry, I've pressed the, I can use my backup now. Actually, if I go back, come to the bottom, okay, you can see that there's the first assignment, okay, which is the Lightbot, and I'll just let Louise do a little bit of work on that at the moment, just before I show you how that looks. Now, while we're waiting for that, I just want to show you something which, if we do have anybody who's involved within SND on the call, this is a tool that I do not know why other schools are not aware of it, and it is available free across the whole Office 365 platform at the moment. Obviously it doesn't cost anything, but it absolutely is such an essential tool. As a teacher, it can take me an hour to differentiate all my materials. Can I have a 36 size writing on yellow paper, please? Can I have, can I have 25 size writing Comic Sans, please? I'm aware that every single student has different needs. Myself, I'm dyslexic, okay, so I prefer a different style of paper. I don't know if you can see at the moment, but the paper I've written my notes on is blue. And just a really nice thing that teachers should be aware of is this Immersive Reader tool. So I'm going to show it to you within Teams on how to access it. because that was and then if we go to this on further calls on different webinars, I will show you how to access it on different platforms as well. But once again, these three little dots up here, if we click these three little dots, we can see that we've got something called an immersive reader. Sometimes staff are concerned because they don't know what it means, they don't press it, and this is, to me, such a fantastic tool. Okay, so first of all, as you can see, okay, it gives it to you in a different area. Now this is bespoke to every single person who is currently doing this message themselves. Okay, so for example, what I might want to do is, oh, bear with me, have I come off that? Okay, let me just go back to that immersive reader tool. I do apologize, I think I've accidentally, okay, so go back to that immersive reader. Okay, now what this does is this puts it in a different view. Now the first thing that you can do is you can play, okay, and when you play, okay, that actually reads back that message to you. So for any students who actually might not have might find it difficult to actually read the messages because of the vocabulary is not very good, okay, or they might struggle to actually access it, they can simply listen to it. And that will be something that will make their life, and as long as we are able to tell them how to access that, they can actually do that quite quickly. I do apologize, I keep on seeming to click off it, okay, with the recording. So you can simply press record. The other great thing we can do is we can go to text preferences, okay, we can go to size 48, 42, all these different text preferences. We can increase spacing, okay, we can choose the style of writing, Comic Sans, okay, background, okay, vast amount of backgrounds, okay, yellow background. Now the thing that you need to remember is now, because our students have these devices across all subjects, we don't actually print off any more resources on yellow backgrounds, blue backgrounds. Students actually do it themselves, which generally means that it saves the teachers more times doing the things that they can do. As long as we empower the students to be able to do this themselves, they can actually change the document in Microsoft Word, okay, in the browsers that we use within Teams, okay, to actually suit their own needs, okay. Other things that we might look at is these grammar options, okay. Being from Liverpool and a computer science teacher, English is not my strong point, okay, and what we've got here, okay, is we've got all the different nouns. So for example, I can simply turn it on and it shows me what the nouns are. I can simply go to, if I don't want it blue, I can click the color that I want it to be. I can turn off my nouns, okay. I can verbs, adjectives, adverbs, okay. I can turn them on and it highlights it. I can, remember this is as a student can simply click on the labels, and once again it actually just tells them what they are. And once again, that's about enabling the students, giving them the power to take responsibility for their own learning, how for them to be able to do that rather than the teacher. And this is a free tool, okay. Every single person who's got the Office 365 platform, this is already free, available already in on your services. We're just not using it as teachers. Probably a bit more lower school, but we can turn the syllables on to help read, and just show you a couple more little bits and pieces. We can click on the reading preferences. We can do our one-line focus, two-line focus, with the different lines of focus. We can, for example, one thing I love, okay, we can click on the text, and not saying that all images are appropriate, okay, or suited, but there isn't an image there for everyone. But if you click on that word, an image is there to represent it, okay, and that is very good for EAL students. So students being able to understand the language, if they need to understand something, they can click on it, and there is an image to enable that dual coding to take place. And while we're talking about EAL, this is the superb thing it can do, is I can simply, once I've written that message, the student might not understand English. They, for example, might be a Bulgarian national speaker, you simply press by document. The language is now in Bulgarian. They can also press play. It repeats it back to them in their language, their native language, and once again the dual coding happens. So they click on the image. Okay, oh, it should happen. Maybe not on all languages, okay, but then we can click back onto original at the top, and as you can see, okay, this is a tool that at the moment I think that all teachers need to be aware of. It's that immersive reader, that learning tools, because that is actually available across all platforms, and as a teacher that saves us as a school a large amount of time. Okay, hopefully now I'll just be able to show you what this assignment would be if Louise has been completing it.
I've tried my best.
Okay, so at the moment, if I go back onto assignments now, okay, as we can see, I can see that Louise Showcase 1 has done some work and has completed on it. I simply click on the work, and what will happen is I'll be able to see her work which she has done, okay, which is just here. I can give them feedback. Okay, and I can simply press return, which gives it back to them, and then I can go to the next student. And that's allowing me to see all students' work. Students are also able to input their own document there. So once again, I would simply say, why are we using more than one platform to do what this platform does? And it makes more sense to just use that one system where this seems to have this all at the moment.